Clear prop.
Alrighty, thanks for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be across country. Nothing crazy. Decided I wanted to take my girlfriend out to eat, and this was the flight, and I wanted to record it as well. So in the bottom right, you go ahead and put an airport diagram, and it'll go ahead and show like a little plane where we are, and it'll kind of track through the taxi, as you'll be able to watch the video of us taxiing right now if you would like to do that. Anyways, yeah, we're going today from Oakland, Kilo Oscar Alpha Kilo, where I fly out of Oakland Airport, to Harris Ranch, 3 Oscar 8, just to get some food. Now, really important that you always get a weather briefing, so I decided to get a weather briefing. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the top left here, and we're going to run through it together. So, just at 12 p.m. I got it. We're departing at about 2:30, 2:40-ish, and we see that we have a convective segment. It's inactive. Don't need to worry about it, but just be aware. 10 to 12, we have IFR conditions over in SFO. Not worried about that. Mountain obscuration east of Oakland. Am not worried about it, but gonna be on the lookout because we have Mount Diablo right there. We definitely don't want to not be able to see that. We want to be able to see a big mountain that's about 3,500 feet. Pretty much VFR along the route, and then possible turbulence above 10,000 feet. Now that's going to be mainly due to that low pressure system, because with low pressure it's less dense air, and if even moist air joins it, or I would say if the air becomes even more moist, the air rises faster and it creates an unstable atmosphere. And that's when we can get those cumulonimbus clouds, the nice puffy ones, and that's where we get the turbulence, the precipitation, and so forth. Lastly, looking at the forecast, we do have possible thunderstorms over by Lemoore Air Force Base around 2 p.m., which is right in the vicinity of Harris Ranch. So again, want to be looking out for that. And then lastly, that 254 at 9 knots, 17 degrees Celsius is the winds aloft for a cruising altitude of 5,500 feet. Alrighty, so we made our right cross on departure, and now we're heading east. You can see Mount Diablo just ahead of us, the big old peak. But yeah, it's not looking so hot. The visibility was dropping. Looks like the cloud ceilings were coming down, or maybe they weren't, but just going off visually. We were going to enter a moderate area of precipitation. NorCal was really cool with giving us that information. They also let us know that going south was a bit clear, and having not been at our cruise altitude of 5,500, I decided with the visibility, not being able to see other traffic, just to pick another destination. So we filed, or we didn't file, but we changed our destination to Monterey Airport with the identifier Kilo Mike Romeo Yankee. And we just did a couple left 360s, and that gave me a little bit of time to just figure out a quick route. And then after I was at least on the route and proceeding in the correct direction, then I can kind of make a nav log going to the destination airport. So I decided just to follow the freeway off to my left, which was 680. You had Livermore Airport just off, or just a little bit ahead to the left. I had a couple visual checkpoints along with some lakes later on that helped me just get this nav log started really quick. All right, so this is the nav log that I made on the go. Now, I didn't do it all in Forefly. I actually did it on paper by just using visual checkpoints like 680 and so forth. But I thought this would be a better way to show you guys as the audience. So we have our departure airport, Oakland. The next point, the first point, is going to be where we're doing the 360s. We then stayed to the right of 680. You have Livermore off to our left. And the second point was a reservoir that we were over. Now, our third point, I actually didn't fly that. I was going to go direct, but we were asked to stay left of a freeway. And then lastly, just direct to Monterey. Now, zooming in, you can see that the altitude restrictions, you have 4,000, 10,000. So we had to stay at about 3,500 originally. Continuing on, we moved up to 5,500. You see San Jose is at 4,000. So we had to be higher than 3.5. And then lastly, our final cruise out to was 6,500 all the way to Monterey. And that kept us clear of any airspace. So again, not what I wanted to do, but it was actually a really good experience creating that nav log on the go. At this point, we're nice and relaxed in cruise at about 6,500, and the workload is significantly decreased. So I was able to get a little bit more ahead of the airplane, get the frequencies for Monterey, and so forth. But now you kind of see we're above this higher terrain, so we don't really have as many options in this case of what would happen if we had an emergency, specifically an engine failure, right? Big one was there were a couple roads. That was an option. A little bit curvy, not the best, and they were probably dirt, but it was an option. Another option was turning back or just continuing straight ahead and gliding it, either down the mountain or coming back and turning around, if whichever side we were closest. And then lastly, the best option I probably found was going to be these little bits of farmland where it was somewhat flat. That was our best bet, but did the math. We were only going to be over that terrain for about 5 to 10 minutes, so it wasn't the end of the world. But again, if you're flying over a terrain, just important that you're thinking about that. Hey, now NorCal went ahead and passed us over to Monterey Tower. We checked in with them, and Tower told us to enter the pattern at a right base for 28 left. Now I'll go ahead and circle on the screen. You can kind of see the airport. When it comes to finding airports, you want to just find that big area, especially with Monterey, which is a regional. It takes up a lot of space. But we're beginning our descent from 6,500 to 1,500, or sorry, 1,757. That's going to be the TPA. And remember, we always want to reach the TPA for the airport as we're in the traffic pattern, or at least be at the TPA before going. And then it's about 1,500 feet above field elevation. So field elevation is 257 feet, and then TPA, or the traffic pattern altitude, is 1,557. So yeah, finally beginning our approach. Real quick before you guys watch my amazing, just kidding, it was an all right landing. But before you go and watch that, I want to explain what I'm doing in the base right now for 2.8 left. You see the nose of the airplane come up to the left. What I'm doing is a forward slip. The nose of the airplane comes up because I'm adding full left rudder, and then I'm adding right aileron. What this does, it allows me to lose airspeed as well as increase my angle of descent, so lose more altitude. Now we are done in Monterey. You see the Monterey Jet Center. That's where we were parked this at a really nice FBO. But we got the taxi instructions. We are now doing the opposite of what we just did when we came here. We are taxiing to runway 28 left via Echo this time, then Alpha, and it is a long taxi. It's about 7,000 feet worth of taxi. So, maybe 6 minutes it took us. But anyways, I'll go and put the flight plan in one of the corners here so you guys can have a look at it. From Monterey, we're going to fly along the coast, direct to Livermore, and then direct to Oakland. Obviously, with the direct stuff, that's more of just a note. We may cut a little bit to the right or left just to avoid airspace, and for any other reasons, maybe ATC. Again, a flight plan, we don't necessarily have to follow it to the exact T, but if possible, I'd like to. But yeah, that's it. Now we're gonna go ahead and take off and fly on back home. All right, now this is our approach into Oakland Airport. I ended up doing a couple of landings because I wanted to get my night currency, but this was the first one, and I'll show the last one at the end. Now, as we're coming in, you see these four lights. As of right now, they're kind of yellow, maybe one turning red right now. Now, those are the PAPIs. This is a system that allows us to gauge our descent. It's set at a 3-degree glide slope down all the way to the 1,000 footers. It will guide us, the pilot, down. Now, if we're too high above the glide slope, we'll see white. So 3 whites, 1 red means we're a little too high. 4 whites, we're way too high. Now, if we see 2 white, 2 red, we're perfect. If we see 3 red, 2 low, 4 red, not so good. But you see this in the clip right now, but remember that I'm not really too focused about landing on 1,000 footers. Usually, I'm always trying to land in the first, couple stripes of the runway, so I'm just taking it down. And the moment I start to see tire marks on the runway is when I initiate my flare, and then boom, very nice soft touchdown for the first landing. As we were in the left downwind for another landing, we did get to see a little bit of lightning south of the airport. Very important that in the weather briefing, we did see that there was thunderstorms in Lemoore, so we can see how that thunder slash lightning storm actually moved west towards Oakland Airport. Pretty cool to see. Now this is the last landing of the night. Just needed to get one more for my currency. And if you remember, the hangars that I taxied out of when we departed Oakland are actually on the far end of the runway, way past 28, right and left. So we didn't really want to have to spend all that time taxiing, especially at night. So what we did is we asked for a low pass on 28 right, and then a full stop landing on runway 33. Runway 33 is at the end, maybe 1,000 feet before the end of 28 right, and then it's about a 45-degree angle. It's about 3,000 feet. And right now, let's go ahead and walk you through my process for doing something a little unorthodox. Now we're coming in over to a right for that low pass. This is kind of my base. So I wanted to be at about 75 knots, 10 degrees of flaps right now until I see the runway, and I'll go ahead and circle that runway for you so you guys can see it. Right about now, I should be at 20 degrees, and I'm gauging my turn about 70 knots. And I don't want to put in 30 degrees yet because as I turn, I'm going to lose a little bit of that vertical component of lift. And I don't want my airspeed to drop as well, especially with 30 degrees flap. So here I'm starting my turn and I'm keeping the nose down just a little bit so my airspeed doesn't drop significantly. And now as I level the wings, I'm adding 30 degrees of flaps. Power is idle, nose is coming forward. In fact, I actually think I add a little bit of power because I was a little slower than I wanted to. And then it's just pitching up and holding the nose off. You can see we're kind of traveling a little further than I wanted to down the runway, but eventually airplane comes to a nice stop on the runway, touching down with the main wheels first, and then just a nice and simple taxi about 40 feet to parking. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. Overall, I think it was a great flight. I mean, we didn't go to Harris Ranch, and it was a little bit more unexpected. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a more chill, relaxed flight, but again, it just shows the importance of continuously working on things like diversions, even when you're not chasing that private pilot, that instrument commercial pilot certificate, CFI even. So again, just keep working on those diversions and take them seriously because you never know when you're actually going to need to divert in a real life situation.